Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with none other than the man, the myth, the hockey-picking legend, Karl Bryan. Shoots.
Road dog. We know that's not true. If there's anything I am not, there's a lot of things that I'm not. And one of them is really good at picking anything to do with sports, frankly. I have a friend, Chuck Brady, who is adamant that anything that I say in relation to sports betting, if you do the exact opposite, you'd be very rich man or woman, or the case may be. But should I tell him? Do you want me to give him the prediction here? We're time stamping this way, but that's all good. What do you think? Should I tell him what's happening?
If you're up for it, I don't know if you want to put the curse back on the Leafs this year, but it's funny, right? Like it's you could almost date it back to when they last won is when you started cheering for them. I think, you know what? I don't even want to jinx our boy Dubé in Calgary, so don't even touch them.
All right, but the Leafs, and we just said it on the pre-show. The Leafs in 6, and then Mike chimed in and said Tampa in 5. And I'll have you know that the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the last 2 cups, so they don't need any more. Stamkos is happy. Hedman's happy. Vasilevsky, the goalie, is happy. Everybody's happy. They should just actually Braden. Anyway, so Leafs in 6. You heard it here first. Boom. That's what I got to say. That's the only prediction I'm making. The only one I care about. So that's it.
Okay. All right. I don't even know if it's going to take Tampa 5, to be honest, but we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. All right. No one's here for hockey talk. That's because why would they listen to this for hockey talk? But I got an interesting question here, which obviously I think must come from one of our younger coaches because it's sliding into DMs. I've never slid into any sort of a DM, but I am talking about time stamping my age. That just happened. But the question is clever ways to slide into someone's DMs so you can get a client or a joint venture.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'll leave you with that maybe.
Yeah, yep. Slide into someone's DMs.
Well,
there you go.
listen, if anybody is Captain Smooth, it's definitely not you.
Shoot.
You are not subtle. Is not your middle name. Let's just
don't
put it that
pretend like I'm not smooth, Shoots. Come on, we gotta. No, okay. I am not smooth, folks. But anyways, slide into DMs. There you go. Sounds a little Hollywoodish to me. Sounds a little slide into DMs. Whatever. Let me just tell you this. Don't randomly message someone when you magically need something. Okay, very lame and painful for the other person. So that's the way not to do it. You're just going to do some harm as opposed to good to that relationship. So that would be, I suppose, when you had an established relationship maybe, but I guess if you're sliding into somebody's DMs, that would be different. Look, here are some ways. I got to try. I wonder if did you guys hear that? Here are some ways that people have gotten, me onto the phone. And maybe, look, we just talked about it. Like, my favorite hockey team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? Like, again, talking about them, following them, I'll have multiple DM conversations going, with different folks who I'll have no idea who they are about, the playoffs and the Leafs to do. But if you're going to message me about the Montreal Canadiens or the New York Rangers, you're not going to get nearly the engagement that you're going to get if it's my favorite team. So if somebody's the Yankees fan, talk to them about the Yankees, the new up and comer, what's Judge doing this year? So anyway, so that's how somebody's got me, or, again, something like hockey in general. If you talked about something maybe controversial, like a suspension, that might get me on. I've had random, like people randomly ask me, they want to buy like a present for my 8-year-old daughter who they hear me talking about all the time and see her on, social media a little bit, or my wife, right? So again, I don't know if that's the best approach, but that's the kind of things that I have seen. And then it's kind of like, the rule of reciprocity kicks in. Look, here's what you're looking for. The rule of reciprocity. Mistake. The way that I talk about this is like Santa versus the Grinch when I'm doing a joint venture. One of the things like our clients have is they all have their own online business academy, and they can easily position it at $500 a month, $6,000 a year, right? Well, if you went to an accountant and you gave them 10 memberships to your online business academy, if they were worth $6,000 each, that would be $60,000 of value that you're giving to them. You see how you're Santa Claus as opposed to the Grinch? And the Grinch approach would be like, hey, I know you're an accountant. Do you know anybody who's needing XYZ? Do you know what I mean? Like trying to, again, slide into the accountant's DMs and like looking for him to do something for you early. Gosh, the number of times like somebody will try form a joint venture with an accountant, and it's always like, hey, send me people, like send me your clients, and what I'll do is I'll give you 20% of everything they spend with me, right? So again, let's just say you're $1,000 a month for easy, $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month. So every month that they pay, I'll send you $200. But when they start paying me, I'll start paying you. But when they stop paying me and cancel, I'm going to stop paying you. I'm like, I got an 8-year-old daughter, right? Like she could come up with that value proposition or a better one. You're approaching it like the Grinch as opposed to Santa Claus. You want to be giving things away. So you're sliding into somebody's DMs without being, what I mean, kind of, strangish, what I mean, and too out of the blue. You want to be engaging. Look, marketing is about entering the conversation going on inside somebody's head. The same thing goes here. Like I love the show Billions. When Billions is at like, a peak moment or that sort of thing in the season, sending me a message about that might work. And last thing I'm looking for is a DM here, by the way, folks. But that, what I mean? So doing that with the person you're looking to influence, and take some time, look at their profile, and you would never know that they love Billions. You never know that they love the Toronto Maple Leafs. You never know that they have an 8-year-old daughter unless you spent a little bit of time doing a little bit of homework. And Road Dog, that's what I think people don't take the time to do. Actually, I had a guy. So I was in Turks and Caicos, right? And he sent me a message and said, "Oh yeah, like I heard you're down there and I'm coming down. Love to grab a beer." Well, it turns out he was not on his way here at all. But he actually, this was, a plan. This was the game plan was to, sit down. So aggressive, probably far more than you guys would want to do, but there you go. Look, bottom line, again, as I said, enter the conversation going on inside their head. And just remember, every day, a little bit better, like another contact, another conversation, and you'll get that compounding. What I'm trying to say is that if you send 10 DMs, expect to have, multiple, many of them, a good percentage of them completely ignored. But you're either going to worry about the 8 that don't reply or worry about the 2 that do reply. You know what I mean? You just got to continue to compound the 2 over 2 over 2, and then they become prospects, they become clients, they become attendees, they become members of your group coaching. They refer a few people. You're not the right fit, but they end up, referring some folks to you. So just every day, a little bit better. And Road Dog, maybe relevant here, but careful not to go to the influencer that you're giddy over, right? That just looks like the superstar, has got the Lambo with the doors up, to do the picture beside the, the plane, whatever, that's so common. Like, don't go after that guy. In fact, so I used to do a presentation a long time ago on I think it was the top 10 mistakes that coaches made when marketing online. Something very simple. The premise was, what are the mistakes that coaches are making? And the number one, so I go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And number one mistake was that coaches spend too much time hanging out with other coaches, right? So again, that person you're trying to slide into, is that your ideal client? And by the way, if that's somebody you can learn a tremendous amount about or from, this is a good idea as well. But the number one mistake that I find coaches are making out there is they're spending all their time hanging out with other coaches, and you should be spending all of your time talking and working with your targeted audience, the people that you want to be attracting. Might be landscapers. There's all kind of Facebook group for landscapers. There's Facebook groups for cosmetic surgeons. There's Facebook groups for butchers, bakers, candlesticks makers, every single one of them. And then when you just try to go straight in, you might have some challenges. You're going to have to get a little bit crafty to get into those groups in some cases. And they're on LinkedIn, they're everywhere. But that's where you should be spending your time, not hanging out with other coaches and asking successful coaches, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And, that action, action, action. So Road Dog, that's my answer. But I think you just got to enter that conversation going on inside their head. Play Santa Claus as opposed to the Grinch, and what could you give that person, and be accepting of the fact that if you're doing 2 or 3 out of 10, you'd be doing well. So just keep pounding every day. What do you think? That's what I got.
Misery loves company, right? I love that. Coaches hanging around other coaches. It's like there comes a point where it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? And by the way, what do you think is going on in the heads of the group of the candlestick makers? Like, what's the conversation taking place there? I wonder. Is it supply chain issues of beeswax? Like, what's going on there? I don't know. I'm curious.
That might be a good question for next week, Shoot. So that we
this is
do a little homework. I got no idea.
You come to this show, you're gonna get some very thought-provoking questions. This is what happens, folks. All right, we got a bit of a follow-on from last week. You were talking about personal and company branding, right? Kind of an interesting one, because I'm curious what you think. Kind of two different trains of thought here, right? Like, the question is, what is your take on expanding product lines versus pulling it back to being, a little bit tighter with less products or services? I just thought that was a very interesting question, because, sometimes we can talk about adding more and more and more, but then maybe you have the Apple approach of like, well, here's your 3 options sort of thing, right? Like, so what's your take on expanding product lines versus pulling back and having sort of less products or services?
Yeah, good. I'd agree with you. Good question. Again, frame, contract the brand rather than expand it is what my first, without, in different cases, we'll call for different scenarios. But a brand will be stronger if it narrows its focus, the end. Often hear me say you motivate an idiot and they do stupid things quicker. Very common for a business owner to think it's a good idea to add more products, more services. Like Road Dog just said, Apple, with billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars of sales. Walk into an Apple store and see how few products they have. It blow you away, right? So again, they're absolutely in the game of contracting. And it hurts a brand, by the way, and it makes them lack power. Like, I think that the templated classic example of this is Chevrolet, right? Where they used to be like a super brand, and now they like represent nothing in the mind of the targeted audience. Like, I'm no Chevrolet guru, but there's, the Chevy Blazer, and now they have the Chevrolet Bolt, I believe, is like their hybrid or their electric dealio. Remember, but the Camaro back in the day, the Chevrolet Camaro, they've come out with, a new one of those probably about 5 years ago. Looks pretty cool, but again, Chevrolet Camaro, Corvette, Chevrolet Equinox, Chevrolet, and I'm sure there's other ones. The list goes on. Like, what is a Chevrolet, right? The reality is you have no idea. Neither do I. How could you when they make every style of car imaginable? When I say Ferrari, though, you know exactly what they represent, and you know that they are not a family sedan. The end. Drop the mic. Step away. And again, just the Apple Store. Just, I think, if you're thinking framework and what are you doing there, just think of how few products they have, right? So now go to your high-end coaching clients. What do they have? And my guess is you're going to find they've got too many, or certainly they'll expand too quick. So helping them contract versus expand, or certainly open their mind to it and give them kind of that framework. Because believe me, they're not thinking contraction; they're thinking expansion, because they just don't know. They're not business coaches. They're not seasoned entrepreneurs. They're not educating themselves. They're running around doing whatever it is that they're doing on a daily basis, right? Remember, it wasn't that long ago that a coffee shop served breakfast, lunch, dinner, hot dogs, pancakes, ice cream, and of course coffee, right? Howard Schultz thought contraction, and he thought, why not focus on selling great and unique coffee, maybe flavored might have fallen into that, right? Like Starbucks narrowed its offerings and it's now worth like tens of billions of dollars. I got no idea what they're worth, but it's a mittful, right? Like Lush, they make like natural cosmetics fun, right? When I say Lush, you probably know the smell of the store, right? You go walking by, it's there. I love like Airstream. I was looking at one of those, ironically, just recently, but they sell like aluminum or aluminium, depending upon where you are in the world, A-grade craft trailers that you and your family can camp in, and you can go from one side of the country to the other very inexpensively. And by the way, they look in they look cool, and they all look fundamentally the same, right? Um, Whole Foods specialize in organic foods. Again, highly specialized. Subway, just the name of it. They build sub. They do sub sandwiches. You want a hamburger, you're not going to Subway, right? And by the way, if you want a sub, you're not going to McDonald's. Dunkin' Donuts. They specialize in donuts. Very popular. Tim Hortons is a place. If you're not Canadian, you probably don't know it, but the equivalent of Starbucks in Canada, but again, they just do a ripping trade, like ripping trade. What's that? Sports clips, or there's great clips and then sports clips, I believe. Cheap haircuts. Popular locations with lots of foot traffic. There's Planet Fitness. They got $10 monthly gym memberships, right? So if you're a coaching client to rule the category, so what we're talking about here is effectively ruling the category, right? So Starbucks went into coffee and went, wow, everybody loves to go to the nightclub and the bar and the pub on like Friday night. Well, where are they going before work and where are they going after work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? And they kind of built that kind of pub, kind of loungy kind of feel, but for coffee, right? So how would you do it? Look, one, you got to hyper focus. Again, you got to go absolutely contraction versus expansion. You don't do it, nothing else is gonna, nothing's else gonna matter. You're not going to represent anything. Stock in depth, so they don't need to go anywhere else, right? So again, you've got to be the place. You got to handle it A to Z, right? Buy cheap is going to be critical because then you can sell cheap, but careful on this one. I'm not saying sell cheap in that, you're a low priced offering. What I am saying though is that you're probably, if you're going to franchise, you're going to dominate a category. Generally speaking, you're not like Walmart did it, but if Walmart were to have started today, I would challenge whether or not they could pull off what they pulled off. Right. So again, normally said differently, if you look at the most popular franchises in the world, you'll always see, not always, but huge percentage of the time, that they'll always have a mid to low end offering. Okay, so it's just clear. So again, a massively expensive, niche. You just all of a sudden you become like Ferrari, but Ferrari doesn't. Like they own you know what I mean? They don't own the category. The number of cars that they sell them for ridiculous profit margins that are ridiculously profitable, but it's not like they own the category. You know what I mean? Anyways, and build the brand strategically is another thing to be thinking about. So these aren't, I guess they're semi-hard and fast. You got to hyper focus. You got to be an A to Z solution. You want to buy cheap. Again, you need to know. Like when you go into Starbucks, they put there right on the wall that they buy from different farmers and whatnot. I'm not sure exactly what the wording is, but they buying is a superpower of Howard Schultz. Let's put it that way. And then again, sell in the mid to lower end of the market. Generally speaking, if you want to own the category, and maybe Uber is a good example here, Road Dog. Like if you compare Uber to the taxi, you know what I mean? Again, it's not. Like Uber didn't get started and then have platinum level pricing, or again, it wouldn't have worked. That's what I'm trying to say. And then build the brand strategically. You got to work hard to do that. Possibly related to this is like pricing. And so as you're thinking about owning a category and then building a brand, which I just said a minute ago, think one brand and only 3 products, right? So it's a great rule of thumb for you and your high-end coaching clients to stay on track and kind of avoid introducing, too many products, too many services, which is kind of what I'm trying to frame up here. You want to avoid that. So they have one brand, 3 products underneath it, and then just think of a high priced. And when I say high priced, that doesn't need to be luxury priced. It's with this specific brand, high priced, and then mid, and then low. So one brand, think Nike trainers, and they've got one that's super high, and they've got the one slightly down, and then they've got a third down. But remember, Nike doesn't put out anything that is not excellent, right? That's what good brands do. So anyways, but one brand, 3 products is a good frame. Most, again, are not thinking along those lines. And I think that can make it a whole lot easier for your coaching clients. So, and then when they need to introduce new products or services, which could happen, they either replace, as a framework, they either replace one of the 3, the high, the mid, or the low, or they start a new brand and 3 new products underneath it, if that makes sense, right? So anyways, Road Dog, that's my answer. I think it's a great question. I think that contraction is going to make branding a whole lot easier, and that we talked about that in depth last week. And so that's my answer. What do you think?
So you talk about brand. Can I like back up a step here, and can I get you just to talk to us a little bit about creating? This is a doozy, but creating a category, right? Like, is that even feasible? You know what I mean? Like creating a category. Is that not just huge, or is that just me? Is
Yeah.
that just my
Like I'll tell you, business coaching software, it never existed, and we, created it. And by the way, you're going to see you follow us and whatnot, you're going to see our software. If our plans unfold, we've been very, very busy, building the software, getting it right, making it work. It's been in, semi beta, just to make sure that everything's ticking along. And we've added, group coaching software, custom group coaching software, a profit acceleration simulator. Bottom line, that's an example of. So being first is a great way. It's a great way for your high-end coaching clients to generate free publicity. That's, being first and owning a category. Absolutely. See, most businesses, Road Dog, this better than anybody, right? Me too, me better, right? Brutal. Those are 2 guaranteed ways to make a bad living while working like super duper hard. Often, I'd refer to this as confusing being busy with being successful. Uber, Airbnb, Amazon, I don't know, Hertz, ESPN, KFC back in the day with chicken, Band-Aid, some of the major brands that created categories and subsequently went first, like Kleenex. Again, that was a brand. And now when you grab a tissue, you go Kleenex, but it was actually a brand, right? So I mean, when you go first, you public relations, that's how you build the brand, because people start talking about it. Right. And again, think Starbucks 101, Starbucks 101 and Uber for sure. Right. And Airbnb. Think of how much free publicity they got because they were first, and they absolutely created categories. Right. And then the advertising comes to maintain it. Right. So use, your first in category, public relations build it, and then advertising kind of maintains it. It's exactly Apple's formula, by the way. But first, they need to create something that's worth, writing about, talking about. So I was watching so Will Smith recently, right? Nobody didn't see that, but he smacked Chris Rock on the Oscars, and I think everybody, at first it was like it was staged to get the Oscars back on, and now he's poor bugger, man. I tell you, Will Smith, a little shout out to him, or not that he gives a rat's backside about me, but that guy over multiple decades kept his nose clean, did not do anything, as far as I can see, a wonderful husband, an unbelievable father, dedicated, unbelievable actor, goes without saying, right? And then in a moment, boom, it could have come crashing down. We'll see what will happen over the next few years, but there's some damage control going on, and ouchie. But okay. So the Oscars are going on, right? It gets me thinking about like movies, TV shows, and it's we talk about it here lots, Road Dog, in different ways, but creation, right? Like again, with software, like we built a simulator. I didn't go and see what somebody else had. Like we went and created the simulator. We created profit acceleration software. We created digital acceleration software. I wasn't looking at somebody else's thing and then like trying to improve it, right? First principles. we started with a blank slate, right? We started with some spreadsheets is how we started. But so when you're thinking of creation, like at the age of 10, you can count as high as you want, right? Like there's an answer for every number, right? Like an 8-year-old daughter, and she could count as high as, she could count, she just keep going and go and she'd work it out. But colors are totally different, right? So there's 64, I believe, crayon colors. And nobody knows what the 65th is going to look like, right? Like we know what 64 are. They all have names and they have something we could represent with, looking with our eyes, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? But like the 65th, you don't know with your eyes, you don't know what that will look like, right? So the creating the color and coming up with a new name, it's going to take effort. So it's a form of art. It's not a form of science, right? So you see how it's totally different, and expressing beauty and creativity where, I don't know, it sounds a bit cheesy, right? But there isn't an answer. Like it's totally creation. And if you want to become insanely successful, you want your clients to become insanely successful, you want to learn to be able to think like this naturally. And again, my poor daughter, 8 years old, I mention her all the time, but like I lit this weekend, have a daddy daughter weekend, and I was talking to her about just imagination. I go, Sage, like where is, like, she was going to a birthday party, and then she was going to make a card. And it's like, oh, let's go to wherever and let's get a card. I said, Sage, let's make a card. Right. And I said, so, her name's Liv. I'm like, what does she like? And she's like bunnies. And I said, okay, so let's make a really cool birthday card with Bunny. And then Sage has got this really cool way of making, what am I trying to say? Like, she gets the paper, folds it up, and then it like when she opens up the card, the bunny came shooting out at her, right? And I was just like, let's imagine this and let's make it really cool. And then she's got this cool song. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's take these words that are somebody else's words, and then let's create your own song. So what I'm trying to do, and I hope so I'm trying to help her make creation become naturally. That was what I was trying to go with there, right? So for you guys, I would encourage, as a business coach and then helping your clients, learn to create naturally, like as in come up with the 65th, color of a crayon, which may or may not be your style, but like, and you're going to suck at it until you don't, right? Like Freddie Mercury, he created the name Queen and then made many songs like Bohemian Rhapsody, We Will Rock You, and another one, Bites the Dust, right? There's not anybody listening to that doesn't know all three of those songs, and probably one of them is playing in your head right now, right? And they made a movie about the guy, right? Like Steve Jobs, he created Apple, and then more to the point, he created the iPhone and he created the iPad, and prior to that, he created the iPod, right? Which we didn't know. We didn't know that he was coming with the iPhone when he created the iPod. But that was what was happening, right? Top secret. And guess what? They made a movie about him. Zuckerberg created Facebook. He may or may not got the idea from his, from the Winklevoss twins or whatever it was. But bottom line is he created Facebook. Movie, Ray Kroc. I love the movie Founder. Love it. Seen it many more times than I should probably admit here. Love the movie. Well, again, so Ray Kroc, movie, right? Creation. There's nothing you can buy at McDonald's that is not created by them. The McChicken, the chicken nuggets, the Big Mac, the secret sauce, the McFlurry, the McThis, McThat, everything. Like everything at McDonald's is unique, right? So again, there's Ronald McDonald, then there's the Ronald McDonald House, right? So I don't know, the creation. So these guys, that's what they did, and then there's Howard Hughes, and maybe it's Jordan Belfort, right? Which I don't know, maybe huge fan, maybe you're not. Bottom line is, made the movie about the guy, right? And what he did create was that book. He took the time, he was in jail, and he wrote a book, which, by the way, is a pretty darn good one, apparently. And Leonardo got a hold of it and said, look, let's go do this movie. Ended up winning an Oscar, I believe, right? But it was all just creation. Not everyone that creates something cool, is going to have a movie created about them, right? Like Road Dogg and I sit over a beer and create all sorts of really cool stuff, right? But like creation is the foundation, like the Oscars. I don't know the name of the guy. It's George something or other. Maybe George Stanley, right? He stood up. He invented the Oscar. The Oscars didn't exist And then he created the Oscars, said, we got to create an award for all of these movies that they can all aspire to. Right. And it's like, what was the guy that played Queen, Rami something or other? He won Best Actor for playing an unapologetic, was he flamboyant kind of gay man? And at a time, by the way, when you weren't supposed to be an unapologetic flamboyant gay man, right? Freddie Mercury was like a 65th crayon, if ever there was one, right? And again, he clearly, wrote all those songs, made all those songs, performed all those songs, created the band, or I don't know if he created the band, but he came up with the name as I understand it, right? And you know what? So, okay, forget all of these guys. What does this mean to you, right? So, what could you create? Like, what about your town small business awards, right? So, let's say you live in a town called Kelowna, the Kelowna Small Business Awards. Do they exist? No. Could you make them? Yes. Would the first one suck? Yeah, probably. But if you did 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row, could you imagine what could happen? Pull out the red carpet, put everybody in limos, and these are going to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Imagine the candlestick maker getting out of a limo with rose petals throwing down in the red carpet. That'd be super cool, right? But these unappreciated business owners, why are you doing it? I don't know. If you agree with me, you follow anything that I do, you know how I feel about entrepreneurship and business owners, and how, divorce rates, separation rates, suicide rates higher always in entrepreneurs, right? But, business is hard on relationships is the bottom line, right? So maybe that's the reason you're going to go and do it. Maybe you're going to do something a little bit different, right? But do you think you might get some small business coaching clients by hosting the Small Business Awards? Do you think some folks are going to want to win? And then they might see that the leg up to win would be to hire you as their business coach and get rocking. And look, I can guarantee it, but remember, it's compounding. Year one would probably suck, and maybe it won't. Maybe you do a bang up job and it will be amazing. I don't know, but you should think about putting it on, right? And but creation is kind of where I'm going here. Remember, you're going to be measured in life by what you finish, not what you start. In fact, straight from my daily emails, and I think when we did the training on how to read financial statements, somebody actually said that this brought everything together for them. But it's like you're going to be remembered for what you refuse, and then I want you to capitalize refuse to give up on. Right. So what are you going to refuse to give up on? I know what I'm going to refuse to give up on, and that's building software for the business coaching industry that sets the standard. But who cares about me? Who cares about Road Dogg? Who cares about Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs, the late great Steve Jobs, and the others? What about you? What are you going to create? What are the locals? What are you going to help your clients create? Right. And the worst coaches, Road Dogg. We talk about this. I talk about it on the podcast also, but the coach that gets started and he's going to work it out, or she's going to work it out for 90 days to see if all of this is for them or it works, right? I'll give you the red hot tip. There's no movie getting made about you, right? Like you gotta go all in, right? So are you in creation mode? What are you creating for your coaching company right now? What's the name and what's the date for your upcoming webinar? And there's a really good chance that you don't even have one. Well, stop, think, take a step back, and don't just go and listen to somebody else's webinar and then make yours better. That's not the recipe. I would encourage you. First principles, start with basically a blank sheet of paper and say, okay, I'm going to build something really special, and this is the reason that I'm going to do it, right? And what's the name? What about what's the name of your new program? Right, you got one? What's the name of your book? Do you got a book? Every time I talk, one of the things we do, we turn somebody into an author in we turn somebody into an author in 30 days, right? And it's like never, almost ever do we have an experienced coach that doesn't say, oh, I'm in the process of writing one, which by the way, God bless you, and that's great. And you should write create your own book. That's awesome. But it's just, what are you going to refuse to give up on that book, or is it something that's never quite going to get done? And by the way, the reason we write the book and we do the book, and it's the reason is nobody's bloody reading it. Your first book is probably not going to be a bestseller. Maybe it is, and maybe you should get to work on that. But it's a really, 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 really poorly paid activity to be doing that. So, but the bottom line is your book. Are you creating it? Are you releasing it? I remember, and one of our coaches, she did a a national tour with the book. We wrote it for her, right? But she went in and again tweaked it and adjusted it to do. She did a national tour, right? And signing autographs at the bookstore to do. Anyway, so hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. It's pitter patter. Had a conversation with Kevin Nations recently. Shout out to Kevin Nations, smart guy. But we were talking about doing like just a bit of a tour. And ironically, I had an idea, and then he had a ridiculously similar idea, and he's like, "Oh wow, like I just talked about this on, well, you know what I mean, literally recently." And it's like we were on the same page. The bottom line is that we were both thinking about, it was all creation. It's nothing that's been done before, something cool. On the same page, you're just creation. That's the bottom line. So that's all I got, Road Dog. That's what I would say. I think that's like I said, I think it's a topic and a good one, but creating a category, and I don't want to pretend there's people a lot smarter than I on the topic, so go find them. But, client, you got to be different. It's Steve Jobs 101. You make more money by being different than you will being better. And that's not to say you shouldn't be world class, because everybody should aspire to that. And if you're not there, you should be doing that just automatically as a day-to-day undertaking. But that being said, you're gonna get more noticed, more traction, more success by being different as opposed to being better. So that's what I got. Shoots. What do you think?
It's interesting because it's like, when it comes to copywriting, they always talk about different, not necessarily new, just different. Because people don't want new. Sounds like work. I got to learn this, that, the other thing. If it's similar but different, not like you're in this sweet spot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really need to learn, but it's sorted like this, but it's different. And then, because I've learned this everywhere, and Strategic Coach is one of the main places that always talks about this. And you mentioned it here too. Like, what's the name of your process? What's the name of your widget? What's the name, whatever it is? Like, what is, and is it unique, right? Because whatever you name, they can only get through you, right? So I don't know. I think there's something there, but
like it. I like it.
I was going to ask this week. I kind of feel like it sort of ties in a bit here, because it's like in the process of creation and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. Maybe some people want to have that as part of their mission statement. I don't know. Like, what's your take? Just real quick to wrap up here. What's your take on a mission statement?
Mission. Look, where are you trying to go? Do you have think North Star, right? So what is the objective, right? So again, think of a plane. You're in California, you're in LA, you want to go to New York, you got a clear objective. There might be a storm, there might be turbulence, you might have to go left, right, lower, higher, what I mean? It might have to adjust the flight plan a little bit, but at the end of the day, the destination is the destination. So most people have no destination, so therefore any road will get them there. In 1980, right? Like computers were like the size of I don't know if it was 1980. It was like in the 80s, right? But like when computers were the size of a car, and Microsoft had a mission say, like I'm gonna make a meal of it, right? But a computer that's on every desk and in every home, right? Like that was their mission statement. Like just think about that. A computer on every desk and in every home. That was their mission. Really, that's their LA, or what did I say? LA to New York. That's their New York. That was the plan. And then I'll let you guess as to whether or not it worked out pretty well for them, right? What's Google? Gosh, I got to dig this. So organize. They wanted to organize information and make it universally useful and acceptable, right? Like, and they wanted to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, right? Like, did they manage to do that? But that was their New York. They knew exactly where they were going. I know Kickstarter, I think, wicked business model. Got a lot of, I really like Kickstarter, but to help bring creative projects to life, I know that's their, quote unquote mission. We talked about it recently. My goal, my North Star, our North Star as a company, to set the standard for the entire business coaching profession. Lots of guys running around, and again, they got the Lamborghinis and the doors up and taking photos beside the influencers, yada yada yada. Right? Never built a real company. They're influencers, and they're very popular, and they're very active on Facebook. Again, true influencers. Jeff Bezos, I got no idea where he's on Facebook, but I assure you, he's not posting 3 times a day, and this sort of thing, right? Bill Gates, same thing. The guys who build real legit companies are not super duper active out there on, social media as a general rule. So it's just, want to make sure that we want to build, software that sets the standard for the entire business coaching profession, right? So that's the New York. So forget us. What about you? Mission statement. By the way, your client. So when I ask you about your client, again, the chiropractor, the dentist, the roofer, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, do they have their New York? And I can tell you with about 98.9% predictability, they don't even, it's not that they don't have their New York, their North Star lined out. They don't have anything close to that. So, help them with what that's going to look like. What was Tesla, Elon Musk, very popular guy nowadays. They wanted to accelerate the world. They wanted to transition the world to sustainable energy, I think it was, but again, really, really clear and definitive, in terms of what they were trying to accomplish. So you'll see these, look, just listing the most popular brands in the world, again, they had a really clear mission statement, and they knew exactly what it is that they wanted to accomplish. And I might just say this, when we're talking about the top brands in the world, we've said this not too long ago, but it's super important. If you list, so I'll get Road Dogg to make a list of the top 10 brands in the world. I make a list of the top 10 brands in the world, and Road Dogg will give his opinion, I'll give my opinion, and then you'll give your opinion. Our 3 lists will be really similar. Okay, you're going to have Rolex, you're going to have Ferrari, you're going to have Disney, you're going to have Apple, whatever is going to make the list. That's going to make your list. Louis Vuitton and Burberry, who knows what's going to make it, right? There'll be one's doing watches, one's making purses, one's making high-end fast cars, and one's making movies. What they all have one thing in common if they made your list. Okay, 3 words. Hopefully you know what I'm going to say if you've been following my stuff. Gross profit margin. Okay, so they got margins. So again, as a business coach, you don't want to help your client go from 600,000 to $1 million without one eye on profits, because what happens a lot of the time is they go from 600 grand to $1 million, and they're making the same amount of profit at $1 million as they did at 600 grand, and sometimes often it's less, right? But the only difference is, at $1 million, they got more headaches, more dramas, more staff, more dispatch, more phone calls, more clients, more things to do, a longer to-do list, and they're making less money, or negligible in terms of more. They're certainly not making, the 400, you know what I mean, the equivalent of $400,000 in gross revenue. They're not, the margins got tighter and tighter and tighter as they grew. Very, very common. So I just, as a mission statement, I would like for you to also build in, related to the question. Yes, I want them to have a North Star. I want them to have, that bigger goal, and what are they trying to accomplish? But, and these are smaller companies. So again, you might want to be a little bit realistic initially. And then you might remember we talked about it a few weeks ago. If you want me to make a plan, 25-year plan, 10-year plan, 5-year plan, 3-year plan, 1-year plan, and then my, 3/4, half-year, 1/4 plan. And it's all got to line up, but I got to start at 25 and then come back. And the goal, the 3-year plan, does that match the 25-year? Does the 3-month plan match the 25-year? Does the 1-year plan match the 25-year? And most people, I think, first of all, they've never taken the time to do that, but there'll be all kinds of, mismatch. The goals and the activities and what they're up to will be completely out of sync with what it is that they're actually trying to accomplish in that 25-year. We'll call that the North Star, make that the big vision. So anyways, I hope that helps. But yeah, Road Dogg mission statement. I think that You should help your company create it. I can almost guarantee that they don't have it. And it's really not that hard to create. And the value, it just make it so much easier because the business owner wakes up every day and they know what they're actually supposed to do. And then, by the way, when they're communicating with their staff, they know what to do. Like Road Dog with our software, one of the things I say to the guys, we multiple meetings every week where there is a group and we're banding back and forth. And it's guys, think of it as a shopping mall, okay? And every shopping mall has got a food court, okay? Why? Because people get hungry when they go shop. So everything is under those four walls. So the instructions and the game plan and part of the bigger picture of the software is that people are going to be able to run their business coaching company and never leave the software. Like everything will be there. And anything that we don't have will be integrated, right? So think calendars and that sort of stuff. So be integrated. So anyway, so that's the bigger vision, but it's really easy. So when we talk about, hey, Carl, is this a good idea? I think we should do this. And guys, does it help them? Is it something that they need on a regular basis? Think toothbrush test. Google doesn't work on anything that you won't use twice a day. That's what toothbrush test comes from. So the question is, does a business coach use it on a daily basis? Do they use it on a weekly basis? Well, if the answer is yes, then we need to build it in our software or we need to integrate it. The end. What am I getting at? By having, that's not obviously mission statement, but it's mission statement-esque in terms of New York. And it's like, here's what we're looking to accomplish. This is the end goal. This is the end game. So it's really, really easy for me to communicate to the guys whether or not I think something is a good or bad idea, because I'll always come back to that. The same way that I can tell you that Zuckerberg here's his North Star was, does it help us grow? He's adjusted this, but as Facebook was growing, and it did what it did, which was bloody impressive. Love Zuckerberg or hate him. I mean, bloody impressive. Does it help us grow? So if you came to Zuckerberg and you had an idea, his first question is to himself and possibly to you, does it help us grow? If the answer is yes, he'll take the meeting. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll build it, he'll finance it, that it's going to happen, but does it help us grow? That takes it to the next step. If the answer to that was no, where he was at and where the company was going and what he needed to do, it got shelved, right? And then Gary Vaynerchuk, does it get me attention? That was his North Star. That's it. He knew exactly. Does it get him eyeballs? Does it get him on stage? Does it get people watching him online? Then he does it. And if it doesn't, he doesn't do it. And it's worked out pretty well for Gary Vaynerchuk, clearly. So I don't know. I hope, Road Dog, what do you think of that? You see where I'm going there, and you see, so mission statement, a little bit rabbit hole-ish, but this is what I'd be thinking about, and this is what I think we should be helping our coaching clients create. What do you think?
Well, what do I think? I kind of think it is a bit of a rabbit hole. I think it's a bold statement that you're proclaiming, right? But What's interesting to me is I almost feel like some people aren't specific enough with their mission statement. Do you know what I mean? Like, 100%. I just feel like some of these are just so like almost aloof, these sort of whatever sort of mission statements that are more fluff than an actual target.
Like, Road Dog, would you agree that they make them to sound impressive as opposed to be real?
Times, in a Karl Bryan word, times a million. Right?
Nice. Like I agree. 100%.
That's just it. Because now when hang on, let me, like, I wrote it down here. What did you say yours was for the software? Hold on. What was it for the software? Set the standard for the entire business coaching profession.
Like you're gonna be able to run your entire business coaching business off of, you'll never leave our software, right? So everything will be integrated, everything will be there. So anything you do on a regular basis, like calendar, emails and whatnot, will all be able to be housed behind the software.
But when you say set the standard for the entire business coaching profession, like from an outside perspective, that's sort of like, wow, that could be light and fluffy too. But in your mind, you already know, like, here's point A, B, C, D, E, like inside 100%. Of that, what that even looks like.
That's it. So yeah, exactly. Maybe an example. So I just want to give an example because you're right. I just want to make sure. So here's an example. The biggest problem with business coaching is that business coaches get going and they're not sure what to do, what order, what should be done first, what should be done second. So the software's got 497 million weighted algorithmic sequences. And by the way, had a artificial intelligence is something that's, very much, we're not there yet and we're not pretending to be, but we're already working on it, because I know in, soon it's going to have to be, it's going to have to be there, right? But hear me out. So, if you create, say you've got, let's say you got a joint venture and you want to go form a joint venture with an accountant, and then you go there and say, okay, I'm going to help your clients go to the next level, which is kind of like, maybe you say that, maybe you say, hopefully you say something more impressive than that, but that's not what's referred to as a compelling offer. So a compelling offer is, I can find Mr. Accountant, I can find any one of your clients $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. Okay. So if you go to an accountant with that offer, the chances of your joint venture being successful are significantly higher. Hopefully that's a 101. Well, with the 497 million weighted algorithmic sequences, compelling offer ranks higher than joint venture for that reason. And if you want to take it, you can easily manually grab it, with your mouse and then pull it up and change the order. But without manually doing that, it'll do that for you, setting the standard for the entire business coaching profession. So if you're working with a chiropractor, you're working with you're working with a hair salon, you're working with the wedding planner, you're working with the florist, I want you to know that, look, we got to come up with a killer offer before we go to the florist. We got to have a compelling offer before we go. We're a personal trainer. We want to go to the gym. Well, my first question is, what's your offer? Santa Claus versus the Grinch. Why are they going to accept you? Why are they going to want you? So that's why compelling offer ranks higher. Then there's like upsell and cross sell, right? So like an upsell, most people will go, they know, do you want fries with that? They think that's an upsell. It's actually a cross sell, right? And then an upsell is, do you want me to supersize it? Well, it's 21 times more profitable. It's 21 times less expensive, easier. Let me just frame that, right? It's 21 times more profitable to do to do upselling than it is to do cross-selling. But most business coaches will start with cross-selling. So therefore, this is part of the algorithms and whatnot. So setting the standard for the business coaching profession is that we're going to be able to create a laundry list. And like, if you understand artificial intelligence, see, it doesn't, without data, and we have tons and tons of data, right? And we're using it, not in a pure artificial machine learning kind of way, but absolutely using it. So we know which ones are, like what's getting used. So basically, artificial intelligence will never be dumber than it is on day one. Okay. So a little bit of data, a little bit of data, a little bit of data, a little bit of data. Think of the compounding effect that happens. So as more data comes in, the smarter the algorithm becomes, the better the roadmap that the software spits out is. That's kind of so I believe that the way that we're going to set the standard for the entire business coaching profession is, nobody's going to want to go into the chiropractor, the dentist, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker without our profit acceleration roadmap, because it's going to be so cookie cutter and so easy to know that you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And then of course they're going to ask, but how do I implement a compelling offer? And we've built all the intellectual property in the A to K on exactly how you go about doing that lives behind the software now. So, and this isn't plugged for the software guys. It's just, it's answering, when Road Dogg says, setting the standard for the entire business coaching profession. It's not some fluffy, like I want to sound cool, which I don't. But you know what I mean? It's just like, this is the way that I think we should be doing it. And we're learning. And believe me, I'm the reluctant, I don't want to be Tony Robbins. I am not Tony Robbins. I'm not pretending to be Tony Robbins. We're just out there behind the scenes pounding away, and we're going to continue to. We want to, we're going to get this software out there far and wide. So that's what I got, bud. What do you think? How did I do? Would you agree with that?
First off, you are not Tony Robbins. You are like Danny DeVito to Arnold Schwarzenegger twins. That's the 101 right there. Like, let's not kid ourselves. The only thing I wanted to say on mission statement there was, I think a lot of people, and I like, we got to wrap this here, but I think a lot of people are mistaking mission statement as like market positioning. And I just think it's like, it's not your pitch. Your mission statement is your mission. It is there to inspire you. It is there for you. It is not there for anyone else. Or am I completely off in that? Because when you look at your mission statement, your mission, it's like, it's supposed to fire you up, not anyone else.
Yep.
Like,
And align your staff, right? So that everybody knows, again, it's just so that they know, because you need other people in your company. If you're making all the decisions in your company, you got a real small company and you're not going anywhere, right? So you need other people to be thinking like you as best they can. So by giving these sound, I don't know if it's a sound bite, but like, does it get me attention? It's really simple. Does it get me? And he referred Gary Vaynerchuk, 2 eyeballs is attention. So his guys know, is this going to get him in front of people? And if the answer is yes, the answer is yes. And that's different. Like, I don't do interviews. I don't do joint ventures. I've said that, in every one of my emails. I tongue in cheek refer to it as, the adult version of let's be friends in high school. But I'm building my company, you build yours. So I've got a very, that's not what I'm looking to do. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's just different folks have got different roadmaps, right, wrong, and indifferent, but you got to make your plan and then you got to stick to it. So anyways, good point though, bud. Good point. And I agree.
All right. Let's wrap this up. Close us out. One thing. What's the one thing that they can take from today and implement into the business?
The one thing. I just had something off the top of my head. Look, creation. The word creation. I should get it tattooed on my ass one day. I'm not supposed to swear. But creation is a word. Everybody should be. Thinking about, like, what are you creating? What are your clients creating? It's very seldom much. I was going to say that, with your coaching company, just take some time and, again, stop and think. Remember, imagination. All the money is made in between your ears. Got a saying, the crazy ones make all the money. Again, because they're crazy enough to think that they could actually create something. So creation. It's a product. It's an event. It's, something for your client. It's a new service. Creation. That's how we're going to end this one, bud.
I thought you were going to say put $100 on the Leafs in 6, but whatever.
Boom. You heard it here first, folks. Road Dogg just said it.
No. You cannot for 1 second tie me to the
Toronto Maple Leafs. Shoots. That was you. Everybody just heard. That's it, folks. You heard it here first. Road Dogg's got the Leafs in 6.
Do I have to cheer for the Maple Laughs now? This is going to be a problem. All right. We'll leave it at that because I don't know if I can back my way out of that comment. But thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Karl Bryan himself. And if you're not on the inside getting asked the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or you want more information about all of the software that Karl keeps talking about, go to focus.com, subscribe today. Of course, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with a fellow coach or someone you think might make a great coach. Someone that's a great sales type person or highly motivated, or the Tony Robbins fans, or even Tom Brady fans. Haven't talked about him in a couple of weeks. Shoots. Got to weave that back in there. And of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd rate this episode, as we know that iTunes, Spotify, all the streaming services give a huge amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard. And that is it for another week. We will see you on the next episode in 1 week time, when the Maple Leafs may or may not be eliminated from the first round for yet another year. Remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.